Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and welcome to Hangout, Patron Hangout number 146. I want to thank everybody for coming today because I moved it from yesterday to today because I have my granddaughter and her friend, and we were doing art projects, and I just couldn't get it together to do the show. So I moved it to today. And I thank you for being here. And if you would like to be here, anybody who's new to the channel, please do consider joining Patreon in the link below. And it's $5 a month, and you can support an educational channel and come to all my lives. There are 8 per month, 2 each week. And if you don't want to do that, please just subscribe to the channel and like the video and check my playlists and click the bell for notifications and all of that. So welcome, everybody. And I want to ask you this question right up front. What do you think about my lip filler? Do you think I should do the same to the top lip? Because, as we get older, our lips get really thin. So what do you think? Should I have a top lip that looks like the bottom lip? What say you, folks? All of my friends here. Pat has been in the sun. I look tan. Okay. Did you go boxing, Pat? And somebody punched me. No, I didn't. Sarah says, no. We're under a heat dome. It's 79 degrees here. Okay. Yeah, I'm joking about the fat lip, right? I actually don't know what happened. I was working with chemicals yesterday with my granddaughter, but I was using gloves, and I don't remember touching my face. And everything was fine. She went home, and I had a few hours to do stuff. I made a piece of pizza, and I don't know whether the pizza burned my lip, but I don't remember it happening. But I woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning. I walk into the bathroom. I'm like, holy crap. What happened to me? So, and I still don't know. It doesn't actually hurt. It's just really fat and huge, and doing salt water treatment and some Vaseline. But no, I'm not getting lip injections so I can have big fish lips. No. Well, you're making meth with your granddaughter. She's not old enough to do that yet. I think I should wait a few more years. Maybe when she's 13. Oh God! But yeah, no. Oh, come on now, fentanyl. Allergic reaction. I honestly don't know. I mean, I just woke up with a huge lip, and I'm like, alrighty then. So I'm sure it'll go away. I just at least it doesn't hurt, which is good. But I honestly don't know what caused it. So it's look at me. But before I feel bad about myself, and before you feel bad about me, now I think you really should feel bad, much worse for poor Kylie Jenner. Look at her. She is falling apart. She broke down in tears on her family's TV show. Why? She got emotional while reflecting on how all the jabs about her looks have taken a toll over the years. Poor baby. She's a beautiful woman who gets a lot of work done, but hey, but how can people be so mean? Maybe it's because you do a reality show, which is absolutely worth nothing except for people to gawk at. Because you parade your beauty around, because you keep trying to fix your beauty up and show it again in a different form. Maybe people find that a bit ridiculous. And oh my God, so you have a reality show and you put your whole lives out there for the public because you're making a freaking fortune and get to hobnob with all the rich people and go on yachts and planes. Oh my God, people are criticizing me for my looks. Hey, I'm a criminal profiler and I'm 68 years old. I'm here to talk about crime profiling, crime scene analysis. And I get harassed about my looks constantly. I get, not because I've done any work, but because I haven't done any work. It's like, Pat, why don't you do something about yourself? Yeah, hey, old crone, you ugly witch. I get that. And I'm not even Hollywood's, what do you call those people in Hollywood who do this? Hollywood celebrity. She's not even, I don't even know what you call them. Personalities. Personalities from a wealthy family who have such difficult lives. Mm-mm. I feel like zero amount of sadness for you, Kylie. Oh. But I have a fat lip, so I'm sure some haters can come on here and say, "Why, Pat Brown has that lip?" Sarah says, "Hard to be popular." Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, you know, she OnlyFans. Oh my God! I mean, it's like seeking clicks. Well, they don't have to seek clicks. They're at the point that the reality shows that the Kardashians have had for years. These people have ridiculous sums of money and a ridiculously fancy lifestyle, and they're good-looking people to begin with. Don't. I'll say that. I think all of them are very relatively attractive people, and I have to admit, some of them did some work that made them look more attractive. It is true, and they exercise and they keep thin, and probably who knows how. But I mean, they're attractive people as far as their looks go. Are they attractive people as far as their personalities go? I have questions about that because I don't find them doing anything terribly useful in the world. And I find them kind of the whole Kardashian reality show stuff absolutely revolting. But that's just me. Other people find it, I don't know, inspiring. But hey, you can whine about people making fun of the way you look when you're rich. Can you have all the hair people, makeup people, plastic surgery people, you've got the lights, you've got literally everything to make you look gorgeous. And it'll hurt your little heart because somebody said something mean about you when you are the one putting yourself out there as a reality star. I would say, Kylie, give me a ring because I'm pretty sure that people are meaner to me than they've ever been to you. And I've never done anything to these people. And I'm not a reality show person. And I'm not here for looking good because I'm in a ponytail and very little talent for any of this. And yet I get attacked for my age, for being a female, blah, 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 blah. And you can't handle it. Okay. Yeah, I'm so sad. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Pat spins an elaborate lie about recent lip injections. That's probably going to be out there next week. So if I burn the top lip tonight when I eat this leftover piece of pizza, which I'm probably going to do anyway, and I have one to match, I'm so screwed. I'll give you a free makeover. They never last, though. That's a problem. When I worked for television, it was great that you go to TV and the hairstylists are there. They put the makeup on. I look great going on TV. And when I come off, they go, "Do you want us to take the makeup off?" And I'm like, "Are you out of your mind? I'm going downstairs and getting a wine and hoping some guy notices me." Never worked, but anyway, it was great. I love hair and makeup people. I just don't have one living in my house right now, so I have me, and I suck at it. So there we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, onward we go. One other thing before we start with the actual news stuff. This is you can't really see it there. Oh, that's too bad. That little black round spot is the butt of the cat. The shadow on him. But anyway, because people always ask about Mackerel, my feral cat. He was missing for 2 days, and I wondered what happened to him. And then he showed up again, and he was very hungry, and he ate his food. And then he went and sat in the doorway of the bedroom with his butt facing me, which I hear is if they turn their back to you, they have some level of trust, which is interesting. He sat there for an hour. And then he came back in to see if the food bowl had been re-upped, which it had not been because I can't move or he'll run. And then he left, and I put some dry food out, and he came in during the night and had his food. But he is now up to sitting in my doorway for an hour. So I'm thinking he might trust me a wee bit. So we'll see how the old feral cat experiment turns out in the long run. Oh, gosh. It is hot here. It is like I'm sweating like crazy. That was a sweat. her cat and her Botox. I come here for the hate. Oh my goodness. Anyway, all right, let's get to the news before I lose all the new people who wonder what the heck I'm talking about. But I like to have some fun. All right, I do want to let you know, if you haven't seen this video I've done, it's on the Shenandoah Park murders of these two ladies who went and they were camping out there, and they were both raped and murdered. It was horrible. And they finally, that guy on the right side of your screen there, he's been arrested. DNA closed the case after, I think it was 1996 murder. It's DNA again. And go watch my video, because what I point out is they had two other suspects prior to him. One of them they actually charged with the crime, and he didn't do it. And I often talk about how crimes are solved, especially cold cases, and how hard it is when you have stranger homicides. And this was a stranger homicide. And one of the problems with this crime right up front was that they decided along the way that because the women were partners, that this was a hate crime against lesbians or gay people. And that turns out in the long run absolutely not to be true. This guy was the guy that committed the crime, was a serial killer, and he found two women alone in the forest, and he didn't really care whether they found him attractive or not, because that's not the point of raping people. You don't really care whether they're straight or gay. It's like, you don't ask it. If you're straight, I won't rape you. If you're gay, I won't rape you. I don't care. They're serial killers. So anyway, go watch my video on that. It's really, I think, this was a case that I looked at a lot, and I'm going because it happened during the time when I was beginning my profiling career. So I'm really interested in that case, and so I've talked about it there. Yeah, go check that out. I want to talk. I did a thing on Scott Peterson a while back, and the way people trying to. Oh no, sorry, that's sorry, wrong case. Wait, wrong case. Oops. Anyway, moving along to, that's not the one I want to talk about. Where did he go? Oh, I'm having the problem today. Oh, I thought I moved it. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Oops, not Scott Peterson. We're not talking about Scott Peterson. He needs to stay where he needs to stay. Anyway, I want to talk about the Menendez case. I have another video on the Menendez brothers. If you haven't seen that one, go check that out as well. But one of the things I mentioned about the Menendez brothers, hold on, let me find my, this guy is the Los Angeles County District Attorney, George Gascon. And he is the one that holds the fate of the Menendez brothers in his hands. And what I said about it in my previous video is that one of the problems we're having today, and I'm not, you all know me, I'm not fond of the jury system. I'm not fond of a civilian jury system. I call it 12 people off a bus stop. Get 12 people, you don't have any clue who they are, you don't have any clue of it, they have any knowledge of any ability to understand crime scenes and behavior and all that stuff. You just pick people off a bus stop. And with today's difficult cases, a lot of the jurors, well-meaning though they are, because my God, if you're willing to sit through some of these trials, God bless you. Right now the Karen Reed trial, I think it's going on 2 months now. Those poor jurors, I feel dreadfully sorry for them. And I personally think it'll be lucky. I believe Karen Reed, the evidence points to Karen Reed's guilt and hitting her boyfriend, John O'Keefe. However, I think by the time this is finished, the chances of the jury finding her guilty are limited only because of this, not because of necessarily what was presented in the court, but because all the hoopla around it, all the stress, all the threats towards jurors and the witnesses, and the complicated information. I just think a lot of them are just going to go, I just don't know, man. So what we're having happening these days is once somebody gets convicted, we have these podcasts and Innocence Project people rolling out. And what they try to do now is bypass the jury. So when the jury that they claim is the jury system they love, the civilian jury system, now they suddenly don't love the civilian jury system anymore. They don't want the case to go back to court on appeal, which is supposed to be the process. They want the district attorney or the new prosecutor's office to let the person go, to change the what they were charged with, or to say it was an improper investigation. They completely bypass the entire system for politics. And I say it's for politics. Now, let's look at what this guy in the Menendez brothers is getting. Here we go. All right. Menendez brothers serving life for parents, shotgun slangs. And I do have my video on Menendez, so go check it out. If I remember, I'll put the links on. A lot of times I don't remember. But if I don't remember, put in profiler Pat Brown, Menendez brothers in the search engine. You'll come up with it, or put in my recent, it's fairly recent video. So, all right. But what's happening here? All right. So the whole thing now comes down to not that they didn't kill their parents. Everybody knows the Menendez brothers. There they are. That was what I was aiming for. It's absolutely clear that the Menendez brothers shot their parents. They now, there's no question. That's not the issue. The question is why they shot their parents. It was a premeditated murder. They got shotguns. They went in. Their parents were not threatening them. They claimed that they were scared of them, but especially daddy. And then they just blew them away. And then they went on spending sprees and had a great time with their parents' money, which I think is more the case that they were tired of the control the parents had over the money. And if they got rid of them, they had freedom for the money. And, but a lot of people think because it is claimed that they were abused when they were sexually abused by the father while they were growing up. And there's levels of knowledge of how accurate this is, how truthful it is, how much of it is fact, how much of it is fiction, how much of it is exaggerated, how much of it is true. We actually do not know. But this is now the thing. It's like, oh, they shouldn't have been charged with what they were charged with. It should have been lower manslaughter because of what they went through. Watch my video. I disagree with that, because if we go with that theory, pretty much anybody who had a rough time growing up now has the right to go back and blow their parents away because their parents weren't good parents or weren't good enough. I mean, mind you, these two boys went to the top schools. They had a ton of money. They could go to the best colleges. Father was supporting them on sports teams, was willing to buy them a restaurant to run. I mean, they had the silver spoon, and they still thought their parents should die. What about if you're just living a crappy little life and your parents suck? Your mother was on the streets making money. Your daddy was missing, and he shows back up, and he's a meth dealer. You know, you ruined they crapped your life up because being born to people is a crapshoot. So, you know, do you have the right then to blow them away because they did you wrong? I mean, there's laws on this. And even if you feel that way, I don't think you get to do that. So anyway, in this particular case, the brothers were afraid their father would kill them. Oh, there's nothing about that. Anyway, after they warned him, they would expose him for his deviant behavior. Get out of here. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm not going to go through that again. Check my video. But now what's happening here? All right. This is where it gets interesting. This is my point about how the justice system is being changed for emotion and politics. And your politics don't matter. I don't talk politics on this channel. I don't care what your politics are. But politics is influencing DAs these days and prosecutors. And it's really concerning. It's more of a case of they're going for whatever the public they feel in their area is for. The brothers' attorneys have argued they should have been convicted of manslaughter and not murder. If they had been, they would likely already have been released from prison. With the help of Los Angeles County District Attorney George Gascon, where'd George go? There's George. George Gascon. They may become parole eligible soon, according to current and former members of his office who have spoken out on their own behalf. Gascon's office did not immediately respond to questions about the Menendez brothers case or the hiring of former public defenders as prosecutors. I'm like, say what? So think about this. They were hiring public defenders to be prosecutors. Well, we know the public defenders. Well, first of all, it's an easy job to get because it's a pretty sucky job. And when you come out of law school, you don't have many opportunities. Sometimes being a public defender is all you can get. And you may not even like the guys you're defending because most of it's low-level crap. It's like, okay, this guy stole some stuff over here. This guy broke into a car. And most of the crap is just pleading him out and all that. But, you know, you're working on the side of the criminal, not on the side of the law or innocent people. Or, well, let me put that, I said that wrongly. The prosecutor is supposed to be making sure that guilty people go to prison. And hiring public defenders to make sure guilty people go to prison is a little weird. Now, they could a good lawyer be a public defender and then become a prosecutor? Sure. But if your whole plan is to hire a whole pile of public defenders to be prosecutors, I question that you're not a very, what they call a progressive whole progressive prosecutorial system, which means we're going to do everything we can to make sure people don't go to prison. During Gascon's controversial run as the county district, hold on a second, I've frozen. Why am I freezing? I just saw my face like this for like a really long time. Anyway, I'm back. Gascon's office did not immediately respond to questions about now I'm in the wrong paragraph. During Gascon's controversial run as the county DA, numerous members of his office have pushed back at what they describe as pro-criminal policies, some of which they argue are illegal in nearly 24 whistleblower retaliation lawsuits filed against Los Angeles County. The district attorney has been a vocal critic of both the death penalty and sentences of life without parole. I'm sorry, but I get your death penalty thing. You know, I understand when people oppose the death penalty, but life without parole, Ted Bundy, he should have a right to parole, because at some point you might get a parole board that goes, you know, he might have killed a couple dozen women, but he's acting really nice now. Let's let him go. Okay. Some things deserve life without parole. I don't know what this guy's problem is. There's some things there's just no excuse for. Although he lifted his own policy against seeking the latter, life against parole, under some circumstances, including for killers of police, serial killers, and people who murder for financial gain. Okay, I guess Scott Peterson, this is, I mentioned it before, he would not want to give him life without parole, because he would say, even if he did it, maybe it was just, he had just had that moment where he lost his little mind and accidentally killed off Lacey. And sure, he went and ordered a burger and hooked up with another woman. But hey, you know, he's been in prison for 20 years. Maybe he's a changed man. No, psychopaths don't change. So no. All right. So he's lowered his, you know, he's not as strong as he was before. But he has also hired, I'm sorry, I'm back to that. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, this is just some stuff about retaliation, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to get into all that. But it says here, okay, this is interesting. We have taxpayers that are footing these bills. They're paying the salaries of these alleged prosecutors, but they're really defense attorneys, and they're going to court trying to get violent offenders released early from prison. It's mind-blowing. So this is the problem we're having with the Menendez brothers. Let me go further on here. I missed the end of the story. Okay. But this guy, he would like to get the Menendez brothers off. Why? Because he thinks there's some logical reason why they shouldn't have gotten the sentence they got. Now, what we find with a lot of these district attorneys these days and the prosecutor's offices is, as time goes on and 10 years has gone by, or 20 years has gone by, the whole office changes and the politics of the country or the vicinity changes. And so different people think differently. A whole pile of people are out here now saying the Menendez brothers were sexually assaulted and therefore they should be released from prison. So it becomes, the problem I have with this is the choice becomes an emotional and political issue as opposed to a legal issue. If you don't like the law, change the law. But if you're going to say the person, they abided by the law, and now for political reasons, you'll then allow the emotions of the public to, because you want to get reelected, influence your decision making. I have problems with this. And this is what we saw with the Adnan Syed case. Adnan Syed, he was convicted, I think rightfully convicted by a jury in the state of Maryland. But the podcast came out and influenced a lot of emotions. And then all these people from the internet came and said, oh, Adnan Syed didn't do it. And we had a prosecutor at the time, was a progressive prosecutor, Maryland. I always get her name wrong. Mosby, who I'm not fond of. And she's like, okay, let's let him go. Not because he went back to court, not because on an appeal. An appeal is supposed to find evidence that says you deserve a new trial, and then you get another jury. But they're skipping that whole thing, and they're deciding on their own, hey, we think we'll just let this guy go because the public doesn't like him being in prison. They think it was wrongfully in prison. We'll just let him go. And to me, that is incredible that this is even going on. So the sentencing might have been better, life with possibility of parole, if the abuse letter was known back then. So what? I don't care that they were abused in the terms of the murders. See, that's the whole point. You're saying just because a kid is abused, maybe at some point in his life, and we don't know, there's no actual information about how he was abused, how long he was abused, how often he was abused, if he was really abused, and when it did or did not stop. Okay, we don't know all that. What we know is we have two young men. They were adults who could have walked away from that family. They were educated, had contacts. They were not people who were going to end up on the streets of New York prostituting themselves. And we're going to say, because of some letter might have been useful in court to say somebody said something, it was a bad time. It was a premeditated homicide, not because they were abused. And there was no proof that they were going to be killed if they went to the. None of this is true. This is all stuff that's being put out there. They premeditatedly killed their parents, in my opinion, for financial gain and freedom. So I don't care if that letter existed back then or not and was in court or not. I don't, because I still don't find that a reason to give them manslaughter. They weren't in, manslaughter. They were not under threat when they killed their parents. You can kill in self-defense. They didn't kill in self-defense. It was a premeditated double murder, premeditated. And I'm sorry, I don't care what your excuses are for the premeditation. Every woman could go back and shoot up her husband or vice versa. Because, oh, my husband mistreated me while I was married and I thought he was going to come after me. So I bought a gun, went back and blew his brains out. Give me manslaughter. No, I'm sorry. You don't get to do that. You move away. And even if there's a theoretical threat on that you believe that your ex-boyfriend, your ex-husband, your ex-wife, your whomever, your parents would come after you, which I don't believe for a minute the parents would have come after these boys. That's just nonsense. But even if that's true, the law states they can't even make the police arrest them on your belief. They'll say, we don't have any evidence that they're going to do this. We can't arrest somebody on what they might do. We can only arrest them on what they have done. So consequently, you can't shoot somebody because of what you believe they might do. Now, if you want to barricade yourself in your house, get yourself some gunpowder, and when your ex-boyfriend or ex-whatever busts through your door, breaks into your house, you got cameras rolling, he breaks into your house, you blow him away. More power to you. That's self-defense. But if you don't have that, I'm sorry. I'm not too thrilled about this whole concept. Wow, this is interesting. Highest sentencing in Iceland is 16 years, can go up to 20 in special cases. We haven't had any serial killers, though. I'm going to say Harpa. I don't know that I believe that. There's no such, I have never seen a place that didn't have serial killers, but I'm going to look into that. That would be cool if you never did, but interesting. All right. I'm going to say one other thing, and then I want to go to some UK cases because this is a UK 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 9 o'clock for UK show. But I want to answer this question based on this concept here. And this was a question from Isabel, one of our patrons, who said, I've been really angry at times, but it never crossed my mind to kill anyone. I've never been curious what it would feel like to kill. Is every killer either a psychopath or a sociopath? I like this question. It's got two different interesting points in it. One is, no matter how thrilled, how angry you are, does it cross your mind to go kill somebody? And I've actually used this in training classes. I said, if you came home and found your significant other in your own bed with another person having sex, what would you do? And I own a 9mm Smith & Wesson. Never once did I think I would take that gun out and point it at two people, or even one of them. Never crossed my mind. Never. Because the concept of shooting someone is not in my head. Throwing things, yes. Shrieking, yes. I can imagine that. What level can you imagine? If you can imagine killing somebody, now, the only time I ever see the reasonableness of killing somebody is, and this is absolutely true for me. If I came right now today, I used to say this about my daughter. If I came home, I ran out to the store and came back, and for some reason, one of my renters in the house was on top of my daughter, raping her. Could I shoot him? Oh, hell yeah. Can I imagine myself shooting him in the head and seeing his brains explode across the room? Yes. That's just me. That's the only time that I can see in my head that I could do that. I couldn't see myself doing that to my husband. I'm divorced now, but I could not see myself shooting my husband in the head if I found him in bed with my best friend. I couldn't imagine that because I'm not a killer. I'm not a killer. I wouldn't do these things. But if I saw a rapist attacking my child, my grandchild, and my children, yeah, I that's the one time I can see it. Or somebody comes through my bedroom door and is coming to attack me, and they're in a mask, all black clothing, and a ski mask. I can actually see myself pulling the trigger on that. Don't have a problem with it. That's me. All right. Now, so that's where it's crossed my mind to kill someone, but only because they were in the act of a horrific act. I don't imagine killing somebody because I found them stealing something from my house. They break into my car. I'm not going to kill them because they broke into my car. I can't imagine that. But I can imagine shooting someone when they are physically assaulting, raping, and trying to murder someone I love or myself. Yes. The second part, I've never been curious about what it would feel like to kill. I have zero curiosity about that. I don't want to know what it feels like to kill. I have no interest in killing. The whole thought makes me throw up, which is why I'm so anti-slasher films. Absolutely hate slasher films for that exact reason, because I don't like dark stuff. I don't want to see blood coming out of people's bodies. I don't want to see people suffering. I don't have any interest in that. And the thought that anybody would have interest in that makes me sick. So when somebody says, "Oh, I don't mind watching," I'm a gore whore. If you're a gore whore and you're on my channel, you can just disappear. I don't have any respect for you. And I'm concerned that you are a psychopath, because to love the concept of watching blood gush out of people's bodies, to watch people being tortured, you are probably a psychopath. I'm going to say that. So if that's who you are, don't come to my channel. That makes me sick to my stomach. Can't stand it. That's why I'm against slasher films. And if people say, well, you're talking about all horror films. No, not all horror films. Depends on what the horror films include. But slasher films where you're watching people be attacked and that they're being tortured and humiliated and in agony, and you think that's fun to watch. I don't want to know you. I don't want to know you. And I'm sorry for everybody else who does know you. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near you. Sorry. You make me sick. That actually did end one date I had, because I invited the guy over. We had gone mushroom hunting. We had 3 days. Mushroom hunting. We went to see some fireworks. Dude came over to my house. I invited him for dinner. And I said I was going to show him a fun movie. He brought along with him a slasher film. And I was done. I said, why did you bring that? Well, he said, I thought you might like watching it. I said, you brought a slasher film to a date? You see the door behind you? Be on the other side of it in 5 minutes. Done. Done. So when you ask the question, Isabel, never crossed your mind to kill somebody. Good, because that's the way a healthy human being should be. I've never been curious about what it would feel like to kill. Thank God, because there are people out there who do want to find out what it's like to kill. A lot of this is in teen world. They want to see what it's like to kill somebody. They think there's these teen thrill kills because they want to know what it's like to stab people. Who wants to know that? I mean, I don't understand the thrill of that. Why would you want to know what it's like to kill somebody? You're a psychopath. Yes. So we ask, are they a psychopath? That kind of person is a psychopath. Is every killer a psychopath? If you kill in self-defense, you're not necessarily a psychopath. If you kill, I'm trying to think of a good reason we might kill and not in self-defense. If you kill for fun, for thrills, for power, for control, you're probably a psychopath. Yeah. And that's why, when somebody says, why do you keep calling everybody you talk about a psychopath? It's because most of the time I'm talking about people who are psychopaths. They're killing people for fun, or because they're fed up with them, or they're the person that they killed. They used to be useful, and now they're not useful anymore. They're in the way, so they killed them. Psychopaths kill you because for a psychopath, you are either useful or you're in the way. Take your pick. So when you're useful, they can be nice to you. When you become not so useful, you're in the way of whatever they want to do or whatever. They're bored with married life. They're bored with being a father or a mother. They're whatever. They'll kill you. And just anybody who can do that, kill their own children, kill their wife because they just don't want to pay for, they don't want to bother with a divorce, that is a psychopath. You can't get away from it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. So I'm going back to some of your comments, and I can see see how many psychopaths are here who are no longer patrons to my show. Lori and Dad J-Pel, those are two absolute psychopaths. Or if you're a threat to them, correct. If you become a threat, they will kill you. Oh, I don't know. That one sounds disgusting. Mike, they put a woman's head in the microwave. Oh my God, that's probably a slasher film. My most hated one is Last House on the Left. I've never forgiven Wes Craven for making that movie, and I think Wes Craven, to make a movie like that, to make a movie where people are supposed to enjoy watching women get raped and murdered, young girls terrified, to make a movie like that, when he says, don't forget, it's just a movie. Wes Craven, I'm going to say, you probably are pretty high on the psychopathy checklist as well. You make me sick. That could be a bit different. I'm not a fan of slasher films. Thank God, Taylor. Welcome. I do love psychological thrillers. All right, psychological. There are murder mysteries that are fascinating. There are psychological mysteries. I'm not against everything. I mean, because I don't believe it. There are some gray areas where it's fascinating to us in certain ways. Slasher films are just snuff films done well enough to look like. Slasher films are films that look like snuff films, and are well done enough to feel like snuff films, and that's not okay. I just have no way to be nice about that. Yeah. Supernatural movies, I'm not so thrilled about a lot. I find my question is, how much gore do we need? And to me, there's you can have scary films in a way that aren't necessarily overly gory. And also, the question is, are you on the side of the victim, or are you on the side of the killer? This is important in slasher films. The slasher films are always from the killer's point of view, the enjoyment of what's happening to the victim. If you're on the victim side, at least, please, you're trying, hoping that they catch the killer. And yeah, I know, don't go in the basement. Okay. But a lot of times people watch a film actually want the girl to go into the basement because they want to see all the gore and what's happening to her. So that's not nice. But there are films where you're kind of on the edge of your seat because it's, and that's okay. I'm not against all of that. I mean, I'm just against when you get to the the narcissism and psychopathy are on there's a continuum on that. Hopefully you're here, which is a healthy point. And then when you get up here, you're a little bit overly selfish, and then you're very narcissistic, and then you get to the point of psychopathy where you really don't give a shit about anybody but yourself, and you don't care about anybody. You have no empathy. So that people get killed is fine. That you can enjoy watching them killed is fine. So when you get up to this whole level at this end, that's a scary end. And if you got a guy who was making slasher films or fake slasher films, and you wonder, I married the guy, I don't understand how come he was so mean to me. Yeah, well, okay. All right, let me go. Let me get out of this and go to. I want to talk about the guy that went missing. This is just brand new, just coming in. Where is it? Okay, this guy has gone missing in the Canary Islands. This guy here. All right. His mother is Debbie Duncan, and her son. Okay, let me find my show on that. I mean my information on it. He's gone missing. This young man has gone missing in the Canary Islands. And hold on, let me find him. Where did he go? Hold on now. Hold on. Oh, there we go. All right. His name is Jay Slater. Somebody asked me to cover this. Jay Slater, 19 years old. So he's that's him with his mother, and he went to the Canary Islands. He went to a rave in the Canary Islands in Tenerife with some friends of his, and then he went missing. And if you look over there at the Papagayo Beach Club, that is, I guess, where he was basically staying. That's where the festival was. But somehow he got hooked up with a couple people who took him out to their home. Way over on the other side of this island here, and then he disappears, and he disappears in this kind of country, this kind of area, in this park. Now, it's a strange story. So this is going to become one of these. I'm afraid it's going to become one of these YouTube grifter cases where they're going to do 50 videos on this case based on a whole bunch of gossip. All right, so what actually happened? All right. His best friend. Now, so let's see. Jay was last seen getting into a car with two people he met on Sunday night after a few music festival in South Tenerife. Now, one thing is interesting. His mother goes, oh, my son's very smart. He's very this. He would never do blah, blah, blah. Okay, your son got in a car with two people who people don't even know who they are, two strangers, and he went off to their house on the other side of the island. So I'm going to say your son has some problem right there. All right. Then, so he met these people. He is believed to have traveled with them to a property in rural Deteno Park, a 40-minute drive, or a 10-hour walk from where he was staying in Playa de las Americas. All right. Just to be fair to Jay, I will tell you a story. So I was in Belize on my honeymoon with my husband, and I was 24, he was 21. And so we're in Belize. We had been in Guatemala for a few weeks, and we went over to Belize, and now we're in Belize City in a very popular kind of little cafe thing. We met a couple Canadians, and we chatted. We had a nice time. They said, hey, why don't you come out and stay with us for a couple days out in the jungle? Now, we should have been smart. We should have said no, because we didn't know who these Canadians were, mind you. Well, we said yes because we were stupid. And so we got into their vehicle and we went off in the night through the jungles of Belize. And about halfway there, I think both of us realized we were idiots. And we're like starting to sweat. We're like, who are these people? And where are we going in the middle of a jungle in the middle of the night? We finally pull up to this shack-ish thing, which was their home. It wasn't quite a shack. It had two stories, and it was cute inside. It was cute. It's a little cabin. We get there, And we're still thinking, oh my God, I hope they don't kill us. and I know I had to go out to the bathroom, and the bathroom was a a latrine type thing away from the house, and it was just a big square in the floor, because apparently they had a toilet there, but somebody stole the toilet. So it was just a hole in the floor, and you had to kind of back up carefully and not fall in and never come back out. I remember that, and it was really we were freaked out. And then morning came, and we woke up, and the wife was cooking some nice tasty food in the kitchen, and the fruits and everything. And they're like, hey, and in the morning, everything was good. I mean, the house was cute. And they took us around to all the different farms in the area and the jungle. And we had a great time. But mind you, we were on a honeymoon, and we get in a car with two strangers and go into the jungle in the middle of the night. Not bright. So why did Jay go with two people to their house in a park in the middle of the night? Well, I'm going to say he was at a rave, probably was under the influence of something, and they were fun people, and they said, hey, come and stay with us, maybe we can go do something, the park, whatever, and he went with them. So the course of the one of the thing is, people are going to say is that these two people killed him or something. However, he is believed to have traveled with these two people to a property in rural Deteno Park, a 40-minute drive or a 10-hour walk from where he was staying in Playa de las Americas. Jay was reported missing after he rang Lucy. That's his friend. His friend Lucy was, I guess, at the rave with him, but for whatever reasons, he didn't go home with her. He rang her, supposedly, to say he was lost, dehydrated, and only had 1% battery on his phone as he tried to walk home, which is 10 hours away, mind you. Panic erupted when the call cut out suddenly and has never been seen since. However, he said, which is interesting, she revealed more about the panic phone call, if you can believe Lucy, which is a friend, and I don't know how good a friend, but a friend. She revealed more about the panic phone call she received from Jay, including that he had cut his leg on a cactus as he tried to walk along the remote path. Shedding light on his last known contact, the teenager told Sky News how Jay had posted a Snapchat image of the house he had visited, showing mountains in the background. She then desperately drove around the area until she found the property, using the mountains and the flower beds as markers to locate it. She said, we managed to find the house. I knocked on the door and there were two people there. The occupants told her how Jay had gone out for a cigarette before going back in and saying he wanted to go home. And there is a picture of him with a cigarette. Okay, at 7:30 a.m. They told me he had spoken to the next door neighbors, and they told him there was a bus every 10 minutes back down to the town. And I have also been in situations where I've been in remote areas in the world, and there are small little buses, combos, going down to the towns or the rickshaws or whatever it is, and you can grab one of those suckers, and you can, and since it's in the mountains, there's a lot of people coming and going, not tourists, but just local people jumping on buses with goods to sell in markets and things like that. The bus stop was right next to the house, so obviously if he'd gone to get the bus, he wouldn't have gotten lost because the bus stop was visible from the front door. The search for Jay has entered the third day, with sniffer dogs and police scouring the area. Now, the mother has been receiving phone calls saying, you're not kiss your goodbye to your boy. You're going to never see him again because he owes me a lot of money. And so the mother thinks even though his son, she says her son is streetwise and not stupid. Obviously, there is some problem with that. Now fearing he may have been kidnapped. I've got a bad feeling, she says. I've been warned there's a lot of bad people in Tenerife. Well, pretty much everywhere in the world. I just think he's being held against his will. He's not a stupid lad. He wouldn't have gone walking down bloody mountains. Yet, the phone call came in to his friend Lucy, and he said he was dehydrated, cut his leg on a cactus, and his phone was dying on him. All right. It seems to me he did not wait for the bus. Otherwise, he'd be outside the house waiting for the bus. It seems to me that the people inside and the people next door said he was going to take the bus. And so would they have something to do with killing him if he made that phone call to a friend of his to tell her what was happening. In my opinion, what are the chances of him? Maybe he'd been doing drugs, maybe he'd been drinking, who knows, or wasn't quite in a good state of mind when he got up in the morning and said, oh, I'm just going to walk, I'm just going to take the bus. And then he decides he's going to walk. Maybe I'll catch a ride on the way, or whatever the heck his issue is. I don't know why he started walking, but apparently he did start walking. And it was very hot, and he was dehydrated. And we know how dehydration kills people all the time. And as I pointed out in the Panama Girls video about the girls from Holland who went missing in the jungle, who people still think were kidnapped and murdered, which they were not. It is very clear they got lost. And you can see their actions are attempts to try to get help. He made a phone call trying to get help because he'd made a stupid choice, apparently, of walking in a situation which he wasn't in good shape to walk or had the proper things he needed. I don't know. Did he make a mistake and get off the main road and decide he's going to walk down someplace? Did he become his brain just not function right and he started getting confused? And I don't know. They haven't found his body yet. Will they find his body? My guess is at some point, yes. But do I believe he was kidnapped? Unless he was literally kidnapped as he was walking. He makes a phone call and says, I'm a mess. And then a few minutes later, somebody decides to kidnap him. Could that happen? Sure. But if I go with likelihood, the likelihood is he shouldn't have walked and he got dehydrated and confused and probably just a sad ending of making a stupid decision like the girls in Panama. That's what I think at this point, because I don't have any information that says to me that he was kidnapped. I'm going back at some. Sorry, I'm looking for I thought I heard the cat coming in. Too early. Come back later. This is true. I actually think there are more psychopaths out there than we think. Not all of them have an interest in sadism, so they go under the radar. This is true. Not a person who is psychopathic can function in life many times. And again, it's a continuum. So are they highly narcissistic? Or are they totally psychopathic? And you can sit there and make up that stupid most evil list. Sorry, I think it's stupid. I think it's just kind of goofy. I don't think you can really figure these things out. And people, there's differing times where these people do different things. And I don't waste my time with that nonsense. I think it's just, I just think it's creepy stuff. Oh, let's be creepy. Let's put these people in categories and put them on little lists. And I just think it's unnecessary. I don't think it serves any purpose in understanding how to either stop them from becoming psychopaths or to catch them after they've committed some psychopathic crime. But some psychopaths go through life and they manipulate, they abuse, they do things that aren't necessarily homicide. Sherry Papini, my opinion, is a psychopath. And she put people through hell. She put people through hell, and she didn't care about what her husband was suffering, what her kids were suffering. She didn't care. And I'm pretty sure the new boyfriend she's going to make him go through some hell, and he deserves it because he should know better because he's hooked up with a woman who's clearly already a psychopath. So, yeah. Alyssa, I don't know. He didn't stick to the roadway. I assume that is what is a bit odd. I don't know. They just don't know the terrain. There may be some trails he got up. We don't know. And the problem when people get confused, sometimes they do really, really foolish things. Whether it's because of the confusion or they get themselves turned around, they believe something that's not true. I don't know. It's hard to say why they do what they do. The girls in Panama, people say, why would they've already gone to the top of the volcano thing. They've seen what they needed to see. Why did they continue over to the other side? I don't know. It was early yet. They thought it would be fun to go further. And some people say, well, the path down there was so clear they couldn't have gotten off of it. Yeah, they could have. They could have heard a waterfall. They could have saw something pretty and wanted to see some monkeys. Went to look at the monkeys and turned around and couldn't figure out where the path was. I've been in jungles I've walked through jungles with a guide, thank God, in Guatemala, and I couldn't tell you where the heck I was. And I always said, if that guide had dropped dead of a heart attack, I would be so screwed because there's no way I could get out of that jungle. I don't know. I'd have to hope. I don't know. Somebody went looking for him, and his son knew the path he took. I would probably stay to the path he was already on and try not to continue on and make a guess at which way I should go because I probably wouldn't know. All I could hope. But the problem is, what do you do about water? Food? I don't care about. You can go for weeks without food, but what do you do about water? And I haven't taken any survival courses. I don't know which plants I can hack at with his machete that luckily if he's dead he won't need, and I could take that and hack at something and get some water out of it. I don't know. Do I look for water and then get lost? Nobody finds me. It's tricky. That's why I never recommend anybody go wandering around someplace they do not know, especially without proper equipment. And we see this all the time. People don't have proper water. They don't have proper shelter. They don't have knowledge of how to survive more than 30 minutes in the wild. And they're in some other country. They don't know what the hell they're doing. And they do this stupid stuff. So my guess is probably he made a poor choice. But we'll find out. I don't know at this point. Well, if he was rolling in MDMA, everyone was probably a trustworthy friend of the guy. Yeah, And if you don't know, MDMA is that's ecstasy. Yeah, and you think everybody's a beautiful person. And these two people, I don't know. These two people weren't nice people. They apparently he did go to their house, and he survived going to their house. They didn't bury him in the backyard. According to everybody, he went out to the bus stop, and he made a phone call after he left their home. He didn't say, "I'm being kept prisoner." He said, I'm walking back, and this is what happened. Those two people didn't kill him. It's a shame they didn't give him a ride back to the village, but maybe there are buses going there, and I don't know why he didn't end up on a bus. I honestly don't know. Alyssa says, they say most powerful business people are psychopaths, so I guess it can work out for some people. It's possible. It's possible. Some of probably the greatest leaders in the world have had a high level of psychopathy, or at least a high level of narcissism. It's hard to know, to be ruthless. But, sometimes they'll do good things too, because doing good things gets them what they want. Again, it's not about other people. It's about yourself. So, speaking of psychopaths, I was asked about this one, this case, which is quite an old case. This is a woman in the UK, and let me see if I can find this one. And the question was, is she's labeled a serial killer? Her crimes are called the what are they called? The Peterborough ditch murders. That's what they're called. All right, so they happened 2013. All right, so this is the woman who committed them. Her name is Joanna Dennehy. Now, it's a series of murders which took place in Cambridgeshire, England, or Cambridgeshire. I don't know how to pronounce it. And in March of 2013, all three victims were male and died from stab wounds. And this is important, the stab wound issue. Their bodies were discovered dumped in ditches outside of Peterborough in Hereford. Two other men that also stabbed but survived. And this is what happened. So listen to the people that she killed. Kevin Lee was a property developer and a landlord and a lover of Dennehy. So he was her landlord, but they were sleeping together. Lukas Slabozowski, a Polish national, met Dennehy through a shared interest in drink and drugs. So again, important to know. And John Chapman was a housemate of Dennehy. So there's a lot of drugs going on in that household. And the landlord, originally you could go, oh, well, that poor landlord. But he was also sleeping with Dennehy, and she's a drug user. So I'm going to say everybody's doing drugs. Both Lee, the landlord, and Chapman, the housemate, were killed on the 29th of March. Lee's body was found the next day in Newborough. Dennehy had dressed his body in a black sequin dress before dumping the corpse. The bodies of Slabowski, or something like that, and Chapman were found on the 3rd of April near near Thorny with stab wounds. So basically, they're all killed around the same time. After the killings, Dennehy was driven by her friend Gary Stretch, where she stabbed 2 more men, chosen separately and at random, both of whom survived. They were both dog walkers, and she stole the second man's dog and never gave it, and that dog disappeared. All right. So she's a piece of work, shall we say. If I remember to, I'm going to, the story about this woman was phenomenal when you look at what her ex-husband had to say, that she has 2 kids who she never gave a crap about. Okay. Her ex-boyfriend tells of hell with a baby-faced angel. I don't know how baby-faced angel she is. Okay. You might be deluded. Who became a serial killer. He says this, that one time when he was hanging out with her, she pulled a 6-inch dagger from her knee-length boot and knifed the carpet. And that freaked him out. And he decided he better get away from her. And so he was a father of the 2 children, so he took off. But he was into drugs. She was into drugs. Her parents didn't want her around. I'm not going to get into the whole story. But she was a vicious, angry, hateful psychopath. Cared nothing about her children. Liked to be control. And she said that later. She said when she went to trial, she's like, she confessed to it because there was no way to get her out of it. And her lawyers wanted to delay things. And she goes, "Oh, stop it. Yeah, I don't want you, you're trying to control me. I control myself. I've already said this. I'm not going to waste time and do it again." So she got very annoyed. So she liked control. And so these 3 guys she killed. The question is she a serial killer or is she a spree killer? All right. She's not a serial killer, in my opinion. There's not much time between the murders. Serial killers, the point of serial killing is to enjoy the actual moment of killing, to pick out a victim at some point and have that moment, and then go back to regular life until you feel the need again to have that experience. And there's usually a reasonable amount of time, sometimes years between killings, and sometimes, just a week, on occasion, or a month. And there are times when a serial killer like Ted Bundy went on a spree when he was about to get caught anyway, and therefore he might as well have as much fun as he can before the police got him. But he is a serial killer who had a little spree on the end. She, on the other hand, it did not appear that she was specifically wanting to enjoy the moment of having that power and control for the killing, so that she went and picked somebody out and killed them and then waited until she had that desire again. She killed these guys very quickly. She obviously had a massive temper, and all of them were stabbed in the chest and one in the neck and chest, but straight on. Her thing was rage. They obviously probably pissed her off. I don't know. The first one that got killed, I don't know if it was a landlord who was sleeping with her. Somebody pissed her off, and she stabbed him. And then she had a problem. She had a dead guy. And then I don't know whether the other 2 didn't want to help, so she got pissed off and stabbed them up, or they were witnesses or whatever. And so she stabbed them. And then she got some guy to help her dump the bodies, because apparently a lot of drug users, when they need drugs, will do you a favor. And then she went out and attacked 2 men walking dogs. And what is the point of that? My opinion is, at that point in time, she might have thought it's possible. And again, we can't get into the mind of killers. Stop trying to do it. That, hey, if I stab a couple strangers, they'll think I'm crazy. Maybe I can get off on a crazy plea. And maybe after that, she realized it wasn't going to work. Or maybe she knew they were about to get her because she'd already stabbed up 3 people. She knew they were coming for her. And she hated men and went and stabbed up a couple more men. Thought it was fun. So I wouldn't classify her as a serial killer. I would classify her as a spree killer who got a thrill, who might have an added thrill about the power and control she got at certain moments, especially with the last 2 victims. They survived, so she didn't do a good job with them. But just that she could take out her anger. So it's the point of the important thing about knowing whether a person is a serial killer or not has nothing to do with the psychology. People want to overanalyze everybody. Why do you think he did that? Why do you think she did that? I don't know. Because she thought it was fun, because she was pissed off, because whatever. The point of understanding, if you're going to put somebody in a category, what's the purpose? It's to stop similar kinds of crimes, to know how to investigate those crimes. If you got a serial killer, you have a different way of investigating than you have a thrill killer, or if you have a person who's some other reason that they're killing. You want to know how to find that person, what person you're looking for. That's it. I mean, other than that, how much purpose does it serve? I'm always annoyed by, like, take for example, the recent arrest. Oh, thank God! I was going to talk about that today, but I didn't put her picture up here because I forgot. They have arrested Rachel Morin. She's a woman who was brutally murdered, the mother of 5 children. She was murdered in Bel Air, Maryland. I did a profile of the murderer, which was distributed in the community. And they've caught the guy as an illegal immigrant from El Salvador who killed a woman in El Salvador and attacked mother and daughter out in California and brutally raped and murdered Rachel Morin. Is he a serial killer? And I can answer that. Yes. And the attack in California, I don't even know what he did in California. He didn't kill anybody there. And somebody let him out the door. So I don't even understand that crime. But he did leave DNA. That's why they could connect him to the Bel Air murder. They found out he killed a woman in El Salvador. But even if he hadn't killed a woman in El Salvador, even if he hadn't committed a crime in California, which we don't quite know what it was, just the murder of Rachel Morin tells me he's a serial killer. Why? Because he attacked a stranger as she was taking a walk or a jog down the Mampah Trail. He jumps out of the bushes. He grabs this woman, brutally rapes her, and he brutally murders her. He's a completely stranger to her. What kind of person does that? That's a serial killer. And it's important to know that right away, because you have to look for crimes he's committed before and crimes he might commit in the future. It's the investigative issue that is important. If he only murdered Rachel Morin and never was proven to commit another crime, by the way, they won't label him a serial killer then. The FBI won't even say he's a serial killer. They'll say, well, there's not, unless he used to say he had to have 3 killings with time in between. He doesn't have that unless they find the other ones. So he's got 2. So now they have reduced it to 2, which I've been saying. I said that for years before they finally did it. I said the FBI's 3 is nonsense. They need to go with 2 because, quite frankly, who does that? Why do you need to wait till 3? I don't even know why you need to wait till 2. Rachel Morin is enough to say that's a serial killer. He will do it again, or he's already done it. For investigative purposes, know if they're serial killers. Understand the terminology so you can investigate properly. Other than that, I don't care, whether he's labeled a serial killer or not. And you want to get into his head. Why does he do these things? Because he's a psychopath that gets enjoyment out of it. That's why. And I'm done right there. I don't care about more than that. I want to know how to catch these kind of people. I want to know how to prevent people from becoming victims of them. So I want people to understand a serial killer is someone who will do that kind of crime, like to Rachel Morin, whether you know he's done one before or he's done one after. He's dangerous. As far as Dennehy goes, she killed like 3 people in a really short period of time. That's a spree. And she wasn't a traditional serial killer where she was planning to kill people one after the other over time because that's how she got her pleasure. She seemed to be a person who suffered from drug use and excess. She was a psychopath who suffered with drugs and a violent nature. She scared the crap out of people who were with her. And one day she went too far and plunged the knife, But we should know the importance of knowing what a serial killer is for the investigative issues. These profilers speculating for hours over mommy issues weird me out. Yeah, but I'll tell you something. One of the reasons I don't make as much money on this channel or have as many clicks on this channel is because I haven't done a whole series on serial killers and how creepy they are. I have done a couple. I did one on, what did I do? I'd have to look it up. I've done a few on serial killers. But my point of doing the show on serial killers isn't to get inside their head. It's to say, how did the investigation go? Jeffrey Dahmer. Could they have caught Jeffrey Dahmer earlier? Did the police do something wrong in the investigation? That's my interest. I want to know how to catch him. That Jeffrey Dahmer was creepy, it doesn't interest me. It really doesn't. I mean, I've been around the business too long, and I wrote the one book on, where is it? My daughter falls off the shelf. Killing for Sport. I wrote this, and it's called Inside the Minds of Serial Killers. So before you say, Pat Brown, you're a hypocrite. All right. I wrote this book because I wrote this years ago. I wrote this, I'm trying to read this thing. I know why I wrote this. Because even though I said the inside the mind of serial killers was most likely the publisher's desire to, they named these books. I wanted people to understand how they behave and how we have misunderstandings about how serial killers behave. And put it in a way which makes people can understand things. For example, here's something. Are serial killers sexually abuses children? Because this is a huge issue. Like I said, the mommy issue thing and the daddy issue maybe. Some serial killers have suffered horrific sexual abuse, while others attain adulthood untouched and virginal. And that's true. It is often quite hard to determine the level of sexual abuse in a family because many family members are reluctant to admit such abuse, and many serial killers exaggerate it to gain pity from the jury at the sentencing phase of the trial. So we have this problem about generalizing over things, which may or may not be true. And a lot of the FBI claims about serial killers came from a study of imprisoned serial killers. And they went to the prison, and you could see that. And what is the series, the FBI series on that, Mindhunter series. A serial killer will tell you he's a psychopath, and he's bored. He will play games with you forever because he knows you're fascinated. Here comes the FBI profiler, John Douglas. Let me sit here and tell you stuff. And a lot of stuff he says is garbage. It's a complete fabrication. So if you're going to believe everything a serial killer says when he's sitting in prison, you're just being a fool. So I think a lot of it, the stuff that's out there, is incorrect and isn't even useful in the long run as to how to catch these guys and put them away so they don't kill other people. That's although the cup Ed Kemper made for Kessler was quite the piece. Well, they love to have fun in prison. They're bored, but it's tricky as far as that goes. Okay, wait. Oh, let's see what Thomas. Hi, Thomas. Hi, guys. I need a really good and interesting topic to do with criminology and forensic for my final research project. Yay! In a year 11 psychology and sociology class. Criminology. Let's see. Well, I'm going to let you all have at that. That'll be good. Tell Thomas what would be good. Okay, so that's her. What else was I asked? I want to mention Summer Wells because someone said, when are you going to talk about Summer Wells again? And I said, not anytime soon. Why? Because nothing has come up with Summer Wells at all. All we have is, they still haven't found her. They don't know where she is. Okay, so here's Summer Wells. She went missing quite a while back, 3 years. I think it's going on 3 years now. Okay. And this is Dad and Mom, and they're pretty pissed off because they say that the internet and social services has been cruel to them. All right. So I saw this on News Nation. It just came up. So it's 3 years after she disappeared. Her parents are speaking out about a case that's drawn national attention. All right. She was 5 years old when she disappeared, and The mother claimed, along with the grandmother, that they had arrived home with Summer from it. They were out for the day, and they arrived home and they were putting some flowers in some flower pots. And Summer went into the house, which was right there, went down in the basement. Her brothers were in the house, and then vanished. The claim was that she went out the back door, or somebody grabbed her, whatever. A lot of what the parents said was concerning. I don't know what happened in that basement, whether she got into some drugs and died and they removed her. I do not know. I have no idea, but they had like 9 dogs. No dogs barked. So it'd be hard to believe somebody came out of the property and not one of those 9 dogs barked. Who would come way up there and grab this child right out of the basement? I mean, within minutes, the child just ran out the back door and somebody grabbed her. So there's no real good kidnapping scenario here. And so consequently, the focus was on the parents, who were pretty terrible parents. And that's a fact. And when you're terrible parents and social services has been all over you for years, you kind of don't set yourself up for people believing what you have to say. Now, this is what I thought was interesting. Remember the other day I talked about the word no. And I'm going to have to ask Peter Hyatt and Deception Detective about this, because this is just my thing. A lot of times when I see people say, I know this is what happened, I find that curious, because I don't, if I went, let's say, okay, today, people say, Pat, what did you do today? I would say, I went to art class. I painted a really bad acrylic painting that sucked. And then I worked on my pastel painting, which turned out very well. And I got a lot of advice. It was great. And then I left the art class and I went to the gas station. And then I came home to do this show. What I don't put in my sentences is the word no. What did you do, Pat, today? Well, I know I went to art class, and I know I worked on acrylic, and then I know I worked on a pastel, and then I know I went to the gas station, and then I know I came home. What's the need for the I knows? Because you just did it. Why do you need to know? And I found a lot of deception coming with the word I know. And I've pointed this out in a number of other cases. Listen to what the father says. We know that she was taken off our property. We know that she was taken away in a vehicle, or they would have found her in the area in which she was, somewhere in the area. But who's responsible for her? We don't know. Wait a minute. Who's responsible? You are responsible for it. Your wife is responsible. Apparently you don't know who was responsible for her, which is why something happened to her. But okay. But he says twice, we know that she was taken off our property. Why don't you just simply say, okay, what happened? She was taken off our property. She was taken away in a vehicle. But we know. Now, there are reasons you could put we know in there. You could say it's just an affectation of the way people speak. But I've seen this over and over with people who I believe are lying. They add, we know. I know I didn't commit the crime. Why don't you just say, did you commit the crime? No, I did not commit the crime. No, I know I didn't commit the crime. What do you mean you know you didn't commit the crime? So I'm really curious about this. I think I'm going to have to write both of them. I want to know about I know. I find that kind of fascinating. So they're very upset. Apparently the children were taken away from them. He lashed out at social service, children's services, taking away the siblings because their home was crap. Sorry, guys. We were stripped away from all our kids. All of our kids have been kidnapped from us by DCS, not because of just the situation with Summer, but everything that came before that. But we're not sure about Summer, but we know about where our boys are at. Well, okay, you know where your boys are. Then the no makes sense because you don't have your boys, but you know where they are. That's when no works. Since she disappeared, Wells said the family's life has been consumed by harassment from people online who believe they're responsible for whatever happened to Summer. Before you know it, you've got a mob going. My wife could go to the store and somebody would scream at her, baby killer. I will agree with him on that. I've seen videos of people screaming at the Wells. They don't have the right to do that. That's disgusting. This is a police case. Leave it in the hands of the police. The same thing happened in Karen Reed. People up there shrieking at all the people that they claim are the big conspiracy in the Karen Reed case. They're shrieking at people. They're going to their homes and calling them names. This is disgusting, human beings. And if you do that, again, don't come to my show, because I think you are pushing your way toward the high-level narcissism where you need to be out there proving yourself as, oh, look, I care, whatever you think you're doing, but you're disgusting. Don't do it. You have no business doing that. If you think the person might be guilty of a crime, you might believe that, but it's none of your business to go shouting it down in the streets. It's appalling. So anyway, but I have seen no evidence that the child was kidnapped. So yes, there's a good reason the police are looking at them, and there's a good reason why the community around them thinks they might have done something to Summer. There's a good reason. And I will say this. One of the things I think is very important for people, and they often don't do this, and probably because they're guilty, but if you should at least be able to understand why people think you did something. You could say, like the McCanns, I understand why people think that we might have had something to do with this. We did something terrible. We left our children unattended for our own selfish desires to go and party. We left our 3 little teeny children in an apartment with no protection. We were wrong, absolutely wrong. And because of this, I think people think we're bad people, and we understand that. If they had said that, I would have more respect for them. They never said that. And a lot of times when you see this kind of situation, you don't have them saying, hey, we understand why our kids were taken away. We understand why people think something happened with Summer. Then we had something to do with it. We understand why they think that. We didn't do something to her, but we understand. That would impress me, but that's often not done. Thomas is getting good suggestions. This is true. They were involved in a lot of high-risk behaviors to begin with, right? And that's what puts people, children especially, at risk. Drugs, alcohol, violence in the home, poverty. I think they were getting, I think there was a lot of welfare checks rolling into that house. I'm not sure, but, the house was a mess. The child slept in a hole in the basement. It was disgusting. And they didn't need 9 dogs, so they didn't take care of their home. They didn't take care of their kids properly. And that's why they got issues. They're very high risk behaviors. That's a good way to point that out. Samantha Murphy, this is an Australian case, and I don't have too much to say at this point, but somebody asked me if I'd comment on it, and it is interesting. This is Samantha. This is Samantha Murphy. She disappeared going for a run, and she ran long distances. This is her on the morning. And the reason I like this picture is just because I want to point out what's interesting about this case is she went for a run, and she went for, let me show you where, this is her home. And then she went to this area where they think she might have been, something happened to her there. So up here we see Murphy's home, where she went missing. They searched everywhere. They haven't found her. And the guy there, the accused, has been arrested. This is her husband, who a lot of people thought had something to do with her going missing. And his interviews are kind of creepy. He kind of giggles during his interviews, which is concerning. But she was alive when she left the home going running, and then she went missing. So I don't know that he had anything to do with it unless he hired somebody. So, but he got a lot of flack for a while, but he supposedly has been cooperating with the police, and they went and arrested this guy. His name is Patrick Stevenson. Okay, now, before I go on, just let me give you the basics on the case. Since, and that's the guy who got arrested, and here he is with his girlfriend. He's a young man, and he's a son of the AFL star, Orrin Stevenson. So he's like, I think the family, the star here, the AFL star, he had 3 kids. I think that's his only son. His son was going to a nice college, had a girlfriend. I mean, he looks like a really cool dude, actually. You know what I mean? if my daughter brought him home at the time when she was that age, I would have thought, oh, nice looking young man. But he's been arrested for this abduction. The woman's never been found. Now, let me explain how it worked. Okay, so she disappeared February 4th of this year. It's been 131 days since mother of three, Samantha Murphy, went missing, and her family was no closer to finding where her body may be. She's 51 years old. And the reason I wanted to show you this picture is that, okay, I'm not saying she's not in good shape. She runs, but I'm saying she looks kind of 51. Now, serial killers, if somebody's actually kidnapping somebody and going to rape and murder them, generally speaking, they go for the youngs. You know, they go for the pretty 20-year-old girl who's running through the park, 110 pounds and cute little thing. They want a trophy. Most of the time when older women something happens, they get raped and murdered, they often live next door to the teenage boy who's a budding serial killer, and he doesn't have a car, so he goes next door and kills off an 80-year-old woman. You know, he doesn't care what she looks like or whatever. It's just the chance of having an opportunity that's close to home. But for her to go running and get abducted by this young man who seems to have everything going in life for him, it's just unusual. Now, if he had kidnapped a 20-year-old girl, I would go, but to pick a 51-year-old woman is just unusual. And this is one reason when a 51-year-old woman goes missing, everybody looks at the husband. Because generally speaking, when an overweight woman goes missing, when an older woman goes missing, usually it's a boyfriend or a husband. It's somebody they're connected to. Just saying, people don't like it, but it's true. Okay, so anyway, she left her home in Ballarat East, northwest of Melbourne, on February 4th for her usual morning run, which does mean that she did a usual morning run. Somebody could have seen her doing it over and over again. Her disappearance made headlines around the country and sparked countless police and community-led searches and left her husband, Mick, and their three children devastated. All right. So, but in March, Patrick Orrin Stevenson, 22 years old, was charged with her alleged murder. And they're saying alleged murder because at this point they haven't found her body. Stevenson is the son of former AFL Richmond and I don't know how to pronounce it, Geelong AFL player Orrin Stevenson, and is not known to the Murphy family. Again, unusual that he would choose to pick a 51-year-old woman to do this. So I don't know how they picked him. I don't know how they found this guy. The police have released no information. They haven't found her body. So how do they know? Now, supposedly there's something about his phone pinging near where her phone was, and then she vanished. I don't know that that's enough to be able to arrest somebody. So I don't know what they've got. One would think, considering he's a young man and comes from a pretty nice family, it seems that they must have something on this guy, you would think. Just want to see what they said more about her phone has been recovered, and that's been useful. It's been underwater and mud for 4 months. All right. But it was almost in perfect working order, which is kind of weird. All right. They don't know if the phone was with her the whole time, if it tracked any area. They don't know that. I just don't know what they've got on the guy. I don't know. And it's fascinating to me. Now, this woman, I want to point out what she had to say. She is a criminologist, and she said she believes the disappearance of Ms. Murphy has resonated so much because it could have been one of us. I thought when I read that, I'm like, that is probably the silliest statement I've ever heard. I mean, anybody who gets robbed, raped, murdered can be one of us. I mean, what is it about her? Well, the thing I think she's really saying is that the woman's 51 years old. And that is not the usual age for somebody to get raped and murdered when they're going running. Now, mind you, I tell all women of all ages, if I'm overweight right now and I'm 68, I should not go running in the woods, because if some guy is back there and he's just, he was going to try to get the young girl, but the young girl got away from him. Like he had some witnesses or something. He's like, he's in the mood, and it's like, dang it all, I missed the young girl. Okay, here's an old lady. Might as well grab her. It's possible. It's not like it can't happen. But I think because it is an older woman, and that is more unique, it is kind of creepy because you think, wow, here I thought I was past the point of people wanting to target me for serial homicides, and here it is, and of course a lot of women watch true crime, so especially a lot of older women love true crime. So I don't know that's where her statement came from, but I think she's a regular person. In other words, she is a mom of 3 kids. She's 51. She's going for a run. It could happen to any of us, but it's a little bit unusual that it happened to her. Although she went to a very isolated area at some point. I take that back. When I looked at this picture, supposedly she went missing there. I tried to see exactly what was in the area, and because whoever took her had to have a vehicle, one would think. And so did they just come up side by side, and she was running, at that point she was running down a path that was accessible. So there's a lot of information I don't know about this case, but I'm really curious what they have on this young man, because they don't have her body. They don't know the shoot. Now, somebody suggested, and I think this might be reasonable, that maybe really happened was that he hit her with the car. And after he hit her and she's dead, he freaked out and moved her body because he was afraid he would get charged with manslaughter. That to me resonates better. That seems more like what might have happened. And they might have some evidence. They haven't said anything about it being a vehicular accident, but maybe they have some evidence that something happened at that place that looked like that's what could it be. And that's why they know it's his vehicle. Maybe there's some damage to the vehicle. The phones are near each other, there's damage to his vehicle, and they think that's what happened. I just don't know, but they haven't come very clean with any of the information at this point as to why they arrested this kid. But I would lean toward that. But I could be wrong. Maybe he just saw her and thought, whatever. But, because can people be a serial killer if they're young and attractive? They can be. But I'm curious. I'll be curious what they come up with on him. Like Israel Keys, not one type, some old, some young, female, male. I haven't looked at Israel Keys in a long time. He was kind of an outlier in the fact that he was just, like you say, pretty much an everything serial killer. So, it's one of these things where there's tendencies toward this more than that, but not absolutely. This is true. Harp is correct. Some killers are very opportunistic. Yes. Now, when they're opportunistic in the sense that they might be always on the lookout for an opportunity. And so that's why suddenly when it appears, they can take advantage of it. And you don't want to be the one that's there when there are no witnesses, and they do take advantage of it. So element of surprise is also true. Yeah. Well, this is, do they prey on the weak? Yes, but generally speaking, it isn't 80-year-old women who get raped and murdered outside of the creepy teenager living next door. Generally speaking, they're not the number one targets. If you look at photos of victims, generally speaking, they tend to be young and thin and short. They're lightweight because it's easier to attack a person who is smaller than a person who is stronger and bigger. And so that's what it tends to be. Now, some when you get under prostitutes, some of the prostitutes are slightly older because the guy's picking up a prostitute and taking her, and then he has the opportunity. She might be 35 or 40. But what you don't generally see, unless it's the lady next door, the elderly woman next door, generally speaking, the 80-year-olds are not targets for rape and murder. Because if you have a choice, I'll go with the end of the night story again. Your guy goes in a bar, and he's 40 years old, and he's not very good looking, and he's sitting there drinking, and he's looking at those college girls, and he wishes he could have one of them. But every time he goes, "Hey, baby, how are you tonight?" they look at him and go, "Ugh," and they run away. And he drinks a little more, and he drinks a little more, and he starts eyeing the 40-year-old at the bar, but she's not that thrilled with him either. And by the end of the night, they say, "Hey, Pat, you're looking pretty good." Beer goggles, as they say. Hey, all the other women have gone home, but you're still here. And that means you probably don't have a date either, huh? So, oh, interesting. Thomas, I did a Samantha Murphy as an example in my media studies essay. The press releases by I think that's the police, and the media pleaded success to they asked. I'd be curious to see whatever you come out of that. Maybe this is a good study but we don't know enough yet, and that's problematic. Sometimes when people say, why don't you profile this? I'm like, what am I going with? I don't have any evidence, and I don't like to. Somebody just accused me the other day. Somebody at YouTube, and under the messages, the comments they put, "This is just a theory of yours. I thought this is a profiling channel." Because profiling is a theory. What did you think it was? Let's see. Just as a little breakaway for a little refreshment. Dear Abby had a good comment, and I'm always so mean to Abby, so I thought I should just throw this in so that you know that, hey, sometimes she's right, and I thought this was good. Where did it? Oh, what the heck? Oh, no. Oh, okay. Where'd it go? Oh. Dear Abby, my husband and I are contemplating moving across the country to be near our daughters. We have lived in our home for 45 years. We are both active and in very good health. But unlike many of our friends, we have no relatives anywhere near us. We have friends and neighbors who are like family. We also are active in our church and community. Basically, our whole life is here. We are also very close to both of our daughters. We visit 2 or 3 times a year and FaceTime often. They will be delighted to have us closer. Maybe. While we want to be more involved in their lives, we have 4 grandchildren. We've always planned to stay where we were until one of us dies. However, as we age, we are thinking we might need to be near them. It has been hard watching all our friends be involved with their families, and we know we've missed a lot of seeing our grandkids growing up. We would welcome any wisdom from you as we try to make this difficult decision. Dear Undecided, not every move of the kind you describe is successful. I have heard from many readers expressing that when they arrived in their new community, they discovered the grandchildren were living full lives with their contemporaries, and the adult children were busy managing their own lives and couldn't give them the attention they envisioned. This was an excellent answer, because that's true. And we often imagine that we go move someplace that everything is going to go as we envision it, whether it be for a job or whether it be because we met somebody and they want to live in Alaska, and you go with them to live in Alaska. I mean, in history, especially for females, a lot of times whoever you married, you went with them wherever they went. And it wasn't your job that mattered. It was his job or his desires. And so you went with him. And you accepted it, and that's the way life was. And so you went. But when you have choices as a couple or as a single person, and you say, hey, maybe it would be better if I lived in the villages in Florida where a lot of retired people are. My sister lives in the villages. Would it be neat if I lived near my sister in the villages? There's people in villages that here going, hey, come on down, Pat. And they're really cool. But I also live in Bowie, Maryland, and I'm having a very good time with a lot of people here. My granddaughter is here. But what if I had grandkids elsewhere? What do you do? Well, I think the one thing I would have said that she didn't say, maybe she did say it. Oh, she did say it. Sorry. Let me read the rest of her great answer, because it was actually good this time. You have lived happily as part of your community for nearly half a century. Because you feel you are missing out on your grandchildren's lives, visit them a little more often. Well, that's a little difficult because the distance is terrible, and flying is not fun. But do not expect to suddenly become the center of their and their parents' lives, or you risk sacrificing the happy life you currently enjoy and becoming isolated and disappointed. That's true. You go live next to somebody, doesn't even down the street, doesn't mean that they're not involved in their own lives. And what are we going to, my parents want us, should we have our parents come over today? Sometimes it can be very difficult to try to meld that. A final thought, and this was what I thought was good. Before making a hard and fast decision about this life-changing scenario, consider renting an apartment in the new community for a year so you can see how well you would integrate into it before selling your home. It could save you a world of regret. That's what I loved. Sometimes if you can keep where you have something, go and spend more time there. If I decide I might want to live in the villages, or I might decide I want to live in India or Mexico or Hawaii, I shouldn't give up this home. I should go spend more time in those places. Instead of 1 month, spend 3 months. See if 3 months makes me happier or makes me less happy. Maybe it'll just turn out to be I should just be going there for vacation and not live there. And then if 3 months works out, maybe the next year I go for 6 months. And then if I'd really rather not come back here after 6 months, this is where I want to live, well, then sell out and stay in your new place. But I recommend that for everybody, no matter what their age is or what the circumstances are, be a little careful if you're very happy where you are. If you're not happy where you are, kick it to the curb and just take your chances. But if you've got a lot invested in one place, be careful. I've seen people just dump everything to go off with some person some stranger they hardly know, to go marry some guy or some woman that they don't know, hardly know. And then they give up their whole life in one place, and then they're miserable somewhere else. So, always be a little cautious. Just don't do stupid stuff and just assume something is going to be better. The grass is greener is a nice concept, but sometimes it's just brown, and you get there and you're a mess. So I would say exactly with hers. This is sort of true and sort of not. The children have the ability to travel and they can come visit. Yeah, but they don't, because the problem is you're talking about they have to pay for tickets to come to your house. They got to pay for tickets for the whole family. You can give them the money to have them come. That's one way to do it. But it's always a little bit awkward. They have to take time off of work. They got the kids is it school time? What about this? What about that? When they come to stay with the parents, what do they do when they're there? It's not as easy as people think. I mean, it just isn't. And it's sometimes it's just awkward. It's awkward. I say you move next door to somebody. It doesn't mean they want you over at their house every day. So I think doing it with caution, no matter what your big life changes. If you have a good life where you're at, be cautious about throwing it away on a risk. If you have a shabby life, well, I say it doesn't matter then. But I just thought I just want to say something nice about her because I'm always so mean. Who else did I have here? This was just an interesting case where this doctor kills his wife on the operating table because he does plastic surgery. Where is it? This fella here. A Florida surgeon was charged with his wife's death after she went into cardiac arrest on his operating table, and he hesitated to call 911. You got to call 911 when your wife is dying. This is usually a requirement, and apparently. She's you got two people here who are really stupid. This is what happened. Benjamin Brown, 41 years old, was arrested Monday on homicide and negligent manslaughter charge. He had a surgery clinic called Restore Plastic Surgery. And he was operating on his own wife, Hillary Brown, who became unresponsive and began having a seizure while receiving multiple procedures. She was taken to a hospital. She was put on life support and she died a week later. What happened here? He was performing a scar revision, a liposuction, lip injection, and ear adjustment procedures. Seriously, how much does this woman need? I mean, at one time, I guess, the concept of you're under and then, you can get everything done. Hillary Brown allegedly prepared her own IV bags because she probably worked with them in the clinic, and a handful of multicolored pills, including Valium, ahead of the procedure. She took the Valium. He did not document the contents of the IV bag accurately, and the pills were not documented. So we're talking about people doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing. First of all, he shouldn't be operating on his own wife. She should go someplace else. And that's a problem. She assisted in her own procedures by suturing her skin back together. She's quite handy. It's not clear if she has any medical training. All right. Hillary Brown became restless and her feet became twitching during a portion of the procedures. She also told her husband that her vision started to blur and she saw orange. Restlessness, muscle twitches, and blurred vision are all early signs of lidocaine toxicity. She began showing signs of an overdose. He continued injecting unknown amounts of lidocaine and did not stop until she went into a seizure and cardiac arrest. When a medical assistant asked Benjamin Brown if they should call 911, he said no or wait. An employee told the sheriff's office that he asked several times if he wanted him to call 911, but he said he wanted to try and do it himself. Okay, employee, you call 911. You got, a woman's dying in front of you. It wasn't until about 10 or 20 minutes after her seizure that Benjamin Brown called an assistant to call 911. She was taken to the trauma center and she had a lidocaine toxicity, never regained consciousness. So it's like, wow. And I think when you talk about ego issues and narcissism, some people go into this kind of thing. The high level of narcissism is what prevents them from using common sense, because they think they can do everything. They think they should do everything. And they think they can do it all themselves. And yeah, and this nonsense plastic surgery, which she probably did not need. I'm going to say she got a scar reduction. I got one there. Okay. A fat, she needed a lip injections. Well, she got her ears pinned back. What was the other? I mean, geez, stop already. Stop. Maybe she had taxi doors. Let's switch one of my kids. Okay. Not him. My son Dave has some of them. My father had huge, really huge, big ears. And so my niece has my grandfather's ears, and you know who she is when you see her. You're like, I know what family you come from. Yeah, it's a pretty dumb assistant, but he's probably been cowed by these people who he's just an assistant and they're telling him what to do. And he's like, well, shouldn't we call 911? Yeah, you should. Is it a crime to leave a sick or injured person to die and not attempt to get help? Yeah, especially when you're the doctor. Yeah, she was on his operating table. He's responsible for her and making sure she survives the surgery. And if something goes wrong, and it's one of the problems with these. This is an outpatient standalone clinic, so they have to call 911 because they're not connected to the hospital. Something goes wrong. I mean, there's quite a few stories about people getting like butt implants or whatever they do with a butt thing, and people's garages. I mean, those are illegal, but this is legal ones. But you see them scattered all over the place now because the procedures are relatively minor because they're mostly surface features things, so they don't have you go to the hospital. But you can't not call 911 when your wife's had a seizure and is dying on the table. So yeah. Yeah. So let's see what time it is. Okay. Okay. I'm going to mention the pig butchering scam, which I just thought, wow, this is called pig butchering. Here is this is a woman this is our prosecutor, Erin West. She's been working with law enforcement to tackle pig butchering scams. Now, this is just interesting because this is a scam for getting people's money, but it is an organized crime scam. And I find it interesting how organized it is, and not just one single person just kind of screwing somebody over. This is let me find a thing on here. Where'd you go? Here we go. But it also goes to show the level of stupidity people suffer from. And the reason that these scams work is because people are absolutely stupid. I don't know how to say this, guys, but that's all I can say it. So anyway, a father took his life after losing his savings to an international criminal gang, and he's not the only one. All right, so this father committed suicide. Now, what happened to him? It says he was, let's see. Well, it's a long article here. Let me find out where it starts. All right, what happened to this guy? The scammers are using platforms like Tinder, Match, Bumble, Facebook to contact people. All right. And so what they did is, hold on a second, I'm trying to find the whole story about. All right. This guy, this is how it works. This guy is an Indian guy named Rakesh. He was trafficked. Now, you talk about human trafficking. This is one of the examples. He was trafficked to a compound called Gate 25 in Myanmar after applying for an IT job. So he thought he was getting an IT job, just a nice job in Burma, now known as Myanmar. And this is in 2022. He signed a scamming contract under threat of execution and was trained to scam. For 11 months, he posed as Klara Semenov, a Russian investor based in Salt Lake City. To avoid gruesome punishments inflicted by his captors, he said he sent romantic messages to victims like Dennis, this guy who killed himself, to convince them to invest money. Now, what's interesting, he says this, 70 to 80% fall for fake love. That's a lot. So one of the problems is if you're going on these sites, you have to question why you're going on these sites. Because you want to meet somebody, you want to find a partner for life. You're lonely, whatever it is. I get it. But if you're going on these sites, you better know your own brain and how gullible you are to fall for somebody saying something nice to you. He eventually was released in 2023 when his contract ended. He believes he was let go because he wasn't very good at what he did. Okay, so there's these huge organizations, and they're outside of the country, so you can't reach them. And they're using a lot of cryptocurrency stuff. So anyway, here's a woman who, this is her story. Karina, who asked CNN to only use her first name, met Evan on Bumble in May 2023. His photo showed a blonde man with piercing blue eyes. He claimed to be Dutch and showed off his wealth, expensive cars, and Rolexes. If you haven't figured out by now that when you go online and somebody who is drop dead gorgeous and has all this money is suddenly, who needs to even be online with you, because if he's that gorgeous and has all this money, he doesn't need to be on anybody's website trying to find somebody. But anyway, she said none of that really appealed to Karina, a chemistry PhD and a triathlete. Except somehow it did, right? The relationship moved fast. Well, here's the important thing about these kind of people. Anybody who's scamming you, whether they're a sex predator or a guy trying to get your money, they don't have patience. They have to see progress. Sex predators usually have to see progress within 10 minutes of being on the internet. If you don't start talking sex with them, they're gone, because they have like 10 different windows open. They're contacting 10 different people at the same time. And if 9 of them don't show interest, but one does, he'll zoom in on the one. So it moved fast. Right away, he suggested they move their conversation to WhatsApp and delete the Bumble app to focus on getting to know each other. A few days later, he started calling her honey. So people start calling you honey who do not know you. They're creepy, okay? Or dear. Dear, by the way, when people write you an email and it says dear, not dear your name, but just dear and a comma, that is a person from South Asia, because they seem to think this is an acceptable way to address somebody that they don't know, which it is not. It's a scammer. Their relation. Okay, so what happened? We were doing that already, she said, in a text conversation. You're already calling me honey? Okay. Evan claimed he had made his money running a company with his uncle and investing in crypto. He told her she could pay off her student loans in a matter of months by investing. Karina was hesitant at first, but eventually agreed to put in $1,000. He told her not to use the official app. Oh, come on now. When people start telling you to go to some sneaky little place and not just, if they think you should invest in something, you can go to not one they recommend and give you a link to, because a lot of that's fake. You go someplace that you know is a proper place. But he convinced her to go to some link to a parallel website, which they used to trade in the coming months. As their investments grew, so did their relationship. Oh, so she started putting in more and more money that he claimed she was making money on, mind you. Their relationship grew. Now, how did their relationship grow? The two made plans for the future, romantic weekend getaways and family introductions, though they were yet to meet in person. Wow. Do you really think that all this stuff is happening for no reason and that this guy's in love with you? And he's, as long as the money's coming in, he'll make plans that never happen, never come to fruition. So unbelievable. She says, I've never met anyone like you before. Yeah, because he's a scammer and he's fake and he's just doing everything he can. Everything you say you like, he likes, right? Hard to believe I'm falling for a man I've never seen or spoken to. Yeah, you should ask yourself, why am I falling for a man I've never seen or spoken to? Because you're a fool. That's why. You're desperate. Desperation drives you to have this romantic illusion that this person you've never met is this great person. Now, mind you, if they're not asking anything from you, not asking anything at all, they're not asking you to show nude pictures of yourself. They're not asking you for money. I can understand you can spend a little bit of time getting to know them on the internet, but at a certain after you've done a little bit of writing back and forth, you should be able to have a phone call, which you can hear their voice. You should be able to do, hey, FaceTime. You can actually see them talking to you. Make sure if they say they're male, they're male. They're female, they're female. If they say they're 30, they're not actually 80. You know, if you can't do that before you do make any deals with them, you're a fool. The first red flag, this is the article says, the first red flag emerged. No, the first red flag was there were like 50 red flags before this came up. When Evan pressured her to enter an event, quotes around it, where she would have to invest $150,000 by the end of July to make extra profit. If she failed to reach the target, her account and her money would be frozen. Scared to lose the money she'd already put in, she panicked. She took out a high-interest loan and borrowed money from friends and family to meet the deadline. Despite his purported wealth, Evan refused to help her, instead lying and telling her he was struggling to meet his target of $500,000 and needed her help. At one point, she found herself consoling her scammer, telling him the money didn't matter as long as they loved each other. Good Lord. Can you get more stupid? I'm sorry. I want to feel sorry for people who do this, but part of me is having a trouble feeling sorry. If you're that foolish and idiotic, well, you get separated from your money. You do, because you got problems. You have severe psychological problems. You're that desperate. And then the same thing was done to the father who killed himself. I'm trying to figure out what the father had of some female that was scamming him the same way, but it's all done through these huge organizations now, not just individuals. That's what's fascinating about it. I'm trying to find what the father was a little more concerning in the sense that let's see if I can find what he said about the dad. He was one of the countless victims, Dennis, of a massive global criminal operation predominantly run by Chinese gangs who have built a multi-billion-dollar scam industry in Southeast Asia. It's phenomenal. But where I'm trying to find the thing about who he was. Okay. He was 82 years old. Much of his retirement was working with refugees and debating politics online. But in the last few months of his life, he withdrew from his family and, having been divorced for years, befriended a woman going by the name of Jessie on Facebook. They talked for many months and built a close relationship. Eventually, she convinced Dennis to invest in crypto. He complied. Without ever meeting Jessie in person, he spent everything he had, and when he had nothing left, she demanded more until the day the money ran out and she left him. Because she never even met him. He never even met her. I don't understand giving money to somebody you've never, ever seen in your life. Letting them control you like that. You don't even know who they are. And at this point in time, people have been on the internet long enough, for God's sakes, to know that not everything on the internet is on the up and up. And you can't believe somebody because they type something in there. unless you can act, unless there's some way to find out their background, get to know them personally, get to actually find out who they are. You can't believe what they say. So you meet somebody online and they're like, oh, I'm really interested in you. I want you to fly out and meet me. I'm a single guy, or I'm a divorced guy, blah, blah, blah. And he wants to meet you. Oh, I'm coming to town. And then you meet the guy, you have sex with him. And turns out he's married back wherever he's from, has a bunch of kids, but you don't know anything about this guy. Comes into town and you sleep with him. And then you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't understand it. He only comes to see me once every 3 months. And he keeps telling me how much he cares about me. It's like, oh, it's just sad. But now that we're talking about organized cartels essentially running these things, it's really creepy, because they can spread their little tentacles far further than a few creepy people. You're always going to have somebody out there who's going to do that. Now you have massive organizations working through the internet and going on all these different platforms. So be wary of any of the platforms that you're involved in while you're there. Ask yourself the question: what are you there for? What are you expecting? And are you going to get conned? Are you gullible enough to get conned? Ask yourself that. Otherwise, don't ever give anybody money. Tell them, I'll take your advice and I'll go to my financial consultant. And you know what will happen? You will never hear from them again. Once you tell them you'll only put your money through your own financial consultant, they're done with you. They can't get anything from you. If you don't send them nude pictures or do sex talks online or agree to meet them for sex, they'll dump you in just like that. So don't give people what they want because first of all, if they really cared about you, they would never do this kind of thing to you. And they would understand that you need to get to know who they are. If you say, hey, I want to see your driver's license, and they say, why would you want to do that? Don't you trust me? The answer is no. There's scammers all over the internet. What if you're a scammer? Well, I think it's insulting that you might think I'm a scammer. If they have to say that to you, bye-bye. Because if somebody says to me, Pat Brown, I don't know if you're a scammer. Okay, well, let me see what I can do to alleviate your concern that I am. So, because I can understand that you might not know, like for example, let's say I were doing online dating and the guy says, send me a picture. I send him a picture and he says, is that photoshopped, face apped? Maybe. So he might say to me, no, I want to see you, and I want to see you for real. I want to see you in a way that I know that you're who you are. Well, then I should be willing to do that. If I say, what is it? You don't trust me? You think I sent you a fake picture? Well, if I say that to him, he should hang up just like that. So when somebody isn't willing, has any concern, doesn't understand your concerns, yeah. see if they're really Ryan Gosling twin. Yeah, they don't. It's mostly really good-looking people fake good-looking people who will scam, because it's hard to scam if you're not very attractive. So it's not the real person, obviously. Oh wow, I cannot even handle the comments section of YouTube. Yeah, it's pretty brutal out there. It's and I want to point this out to you, by the way, because somebody asked me about this. They said they're being bullied on YouTube, on the comment sections. They're having arguments with people, and people are bullying them. My question is this: why do you care what these people think? You don't know them, and they don't know you. No, in my opinion, the comment section should be a place where it has some kind of positive thing going. So in other words, if I watch I'm trying to think what I watched the other day. I think it was a travel thing. And I think I did put a comment up, but it was a nice comment that I've been to that location and they have the best, and whatever food it was. It's just a nice comment. I'm being polite to the channel, the YouTuber, and I'm putting up a comment that I want you to understand that this is, and some of the comments are fun that way, because you'll see different people's opinions about certain places in the world and that they visited, or some, when they're learning about artwork, they say, oh, I love the way you're doing this. I found that I've used this and it's worked real well. Gotten good good ideas from people. And for my shows, I always want people to have positive comments, and that they might ask a question. If it's a recent show, I might answer it. If it's something from 3 years ago, they go, "Oh, Pat, can you tell me what the police found about this?" I'm like, I don't even remember doing the video. I don't remember the case now, so I can't even answer it now. But if it's something, and if a couple people have a little discussion in a nice way, that's cool. But if you're going on YouTube, even on my channel, and putting on a comment, and people are attacking you, you got two choices. Why did you make the comment in the first place? What was it? Why was it being attacked? And if it is, why do you care what these other people have to say? Now, the only reason I ever block anybody from YouTube is not because I care. That's not like hurting my little heart. I try if I can to keep the comment section pleasant. And if I see some jackass come through and say something rude, I just kind of knock them off. And of course, I don't, if they're coming to insult me, if I happen to see it, I'll knock it off. I'll just block it because it's, but after a while, I can't even keep up with it. But I'm not personally insulted by it. So don't ever be personally insulted by what people say to you on the internet, because you don't know these people. Worry about your friends and family. If they don't like you, you got a problem. That's where you're. Well, there's intelligent comments are welcome. Others need not reply. Well, there you go. This is true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's an open forum for. I'm hearing sounds again. I'm expecting the cat to roll, and he's looking for his food about now. It's an open forum. Anybody can be on there, and they're not using their real names, and so they can say literally anything. So Twitter is even worse. Twitter is one of probably the nastiest places I've ever been on as far as comments go. It's vicious. Facebook is the best because Facebook, you choose who you want to be on your Facebook page. You don't have to accept anybody as a friend who's not really a friend. If you're silly, I'm in public eye, so yes, I have like thousands of people on my Facebook page, but for our personal Facebook page, only people should be there or people you actually know, your family and your friends. If you're accepting people you've never heard of, that's your problem. And then but Facebook, you can control that. And so everybody who comments should be a friend or family, and it should be nice. But open forums like Twitter and YouTube and some other places can be pretty nasty. But again, why do you care about what people you do not even know say? They're not your friends. Yes, Mackerel, my cat Mackerel. He's not my cat. Well, there you go. I had a good male friend who got conned to marriage by a lady with her 7-year-old daughter. She's from Central America and wanted away to Australia. He lost everything. Well, yeah. And where did he find a woman from Central America? Was he online? Meeting women online, and this is a lot of that is very foolish. It would be different if he's in Central America, and he's gone down to, let's say he's in El Salvador or Nicaragua or wherever he's at, and he's spending time down there, and he meets a lovely woman, and they get to know each other, and they like each other, and so they decide, he says, well, I'd love to marry you and bring you back to Australia. That would be good. But a lot of people are going online, and a lot of it's older men looking for younger women, 20 years younger, and the women are looking for a sugar daddy and a green card. And some of them don't mind older men because culturally they're like, hey, I'm kind of poor, and this guy's got got money, and I can come to America. They see him as an opportunity, which it's not totally wrong. You can say gold digger, but a lot of times it's a woman who sees, or a man who sees an opportunity. Women have often married men where they saw opportunities, and vice versa. So that she might actually respect an older man and want to be with him is not impossible. But on the other hand, a lot of times, once she's got what she wants, she'll be out of there. And to be foolish enough to always believe that this person genuinely loves you, especially when you see them asking for money. This happens a lot. If you're online on one of these sites, you get to know a woman, and she's already asking you for money every month to help her family. That should be a big, huge red flag for you. She's asking you for money before she even knows you. Before you're in a real relationship. You've just known each other on the internet. You've seen each other's pictures, you've chit-chatted or whatever, and she's already asking you for money, and you're giving it. And now she sees that you have the money to give, and now she's going to pump up the relationship because she sees a possible future with whatever it is she wants. But, again, got to not be stupid, But if you're going to buy yourself love, if you're trying to purchase love, then you're going to get what you paid for. So, but anyway, it's been, I've got way more things. I'm going to put them off to next week. And I will be back on Sunday, probably 4:00. I'm going to do the case of, Daniel Violette. That is a case I worked in 2004 in Ohio. Actually, I was asked to be on another show to talk about this case, and for whatever reasons, when I asked a few more questions, the guy stopped responding. So I don't know what his issue was, but I had forgotten all about that case, and so it's a really interesting one. And I did do a profile on it, and I pointed out a suspect, and it's an unsolved case to this day. And in 2024, the family is putting out a big, huge. They're trying to re-energize this case to find out what happened to Danny all those years ago, 20 years ago. So I'm going to go ahead and since I haven't heard back from the guy, I'm going to go ahead and do the show on that case on Sunday. And then the family, maybe they'll see the show and they'll get something out of it, and maybe it'll be useful to them as well. But 20 years ago, I was in Ohio on that case. And so these are 2 cases in a row that I actually have been involved with personally. So hope you will enjoy it. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for being here. And again, if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe and keep me going. And I'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye.